channel. If you are new, you've just subscribed, welcome, welcome. I'm Rebecca. I'm your host, and I recap live trials. So you have something to listen to while you're crafting. And if you're not a crafter, why not? So it is nice to have you, but if you haven't subscribed, why not? Subscribe, it's free. Hit that notification bell. This is something I always forget. I always forget to hit all because I don't want to miss, you don't want to miss a single episode. And hit that thumbs up button. Okay, so got a lot to get to today. And on the Michelle Draconis case, which has been kind of neglected because we were all focusing on the case of Jennifer Crumley. What an outcome. Yes. And what are the consequences going to be to that in this country? Now, the parents of mass shooters are going to be held responsible, maybe, for the actions or their inactions regarding their children. How about not buying them a gun? Okay, let's get over to Michelle Draconis. Now, Michelle Draconis, they have had 3 weeks. They've been in trial for 3 long weeks. And I'm starting to wonder if they're going to get past a directed verdict. I haven't heard any evidence that convinces me she was involved beyond a reasonable doubt. She has been charged with conspiracy to commit the murder of Jennifer Dulos. Now, Jennifer was Michelle's boyfriend's ex-wife, living with Fotis at 4 Jefferson in Connecticut. Jennifer, at the time she went missing, was living in New Canaan, Connecticut, with the 5 children of her and Fotis. They were going through this very contentious divorce, a huge battle over custody. He only had supervised visitations with those children. So the 24th was a Friday, coming up on a big weekend, long weekend. Monday's Memorial Day. Jennifer had plans to go to New York, drive to New York. She had a couple of doctor's appointments, and then she was going to meet the nanny with 4 of her children at her mom's house in New York, and then take them to the orthodontist in New York. She never shows up. The nanny drives to New York. Jennifer never comes there. Nanny takes them to the orthodontist, then starts to report her missing. And she's never found. She's never been found, ever. So she is presumed deceased. And after what I'm going to tell you, I'm not surprised. So I turned this trial on the other day, and I wanted to poke my eyes out because the DNA person was on. Oh, my word. There's nothing more boring than DNA. Oh, I'm just going to do a little diamond painting while I talk to you. It's so technical. I don't know how the juries can stand it. And they can't just sit on the stand and say, yes, that Jennifer's DNA was on that. They're not allowed to say that. They have to give it to you in probabilities. It was 468 billion times more likely than, why don't you just say it's got her DNA on it? So the stuff that was sent for DNA testing was all the stuff that they recovered from trash cans that Michelle Draconis and Fotis Dulos, and Michelle has admitted, this is us, we're in the Black Raptor, we're driving around Hartford, we're putting trash in cans. Fotis is. She said, I don't know what he was doing. I'm on the phone with my friend. So he keeps stopping, and according to Michelle Draconis, it wasn't a neighborhood that they had done this before. They had dumped trash in other receptacles before, but never in this seedy area of town. She had never been there before. So by the time the police figure all this out, they go and they find surveillance footage of this black Ford Raptor dropping off garbage all over Hartford. A few days have passed since Jennifer's been missing. I think she goes missing on the 24th. They don't get this footage till the 29th. By then, much of this trash has been collected and is off to the dump. But they hit the jackpot at a trash can that was located at Albany and Green. And now they had footage of him stopping at Albany and Green, dropping off this trash. And in that trash, oh my God, I went over this last week. A bloody towel, a Vinnie Vine t-shirt, a bra, garbage bags, duct tape, zip ties, gloves, sponge, paper towel, mop handle. All of it was tested, and it took this woman 2 days to say, yes, Jennifer's DNA was on all of it, every single bit of it. The sponge had a hair on it that they sent for DNA testing, and that hair came back to Pavel Guerrero. Now, he's the guy that's been on stand all day yesterday and is still on the stand today. He's a former employee of Fotis Dulos, and we're gonna talk about what he has to say. Michelle Draconis's fingerprints. No, it was her DNA. Her DNA was found on the inside of one of the garbage bags. Like, they swabbed the opening of the bag. Her DNA is found there. And her defense lawyer had several explanations. Couldn't it be that she just held the bag open for somebody? Could be. Could it be that she took a bag out of, you know how the box, they come rolled up in that little box and you pull one out and you might touch the other one? Her DNA could have transferred that way. Yes, possibility. So we can't say for sure that beyond a reasonable doubt that she's involved in a conspiracy to commit murder because her DNA is on a trash bag. Fotis's DNA was, they tested a pair of gloves that was also found in all of this trash. The gloves, the inside of the gloves came back to Fotis Dulos' DNA. The outside of the glove where the blood was came back to Jennifer Dulos. So, good reason she's presumed dead. Lots of bloody evidence coming back to her. And it actually didn't come back to her. The DNA person had to explain, we don't have her DNA because you've never found her body, but we have her electric toothbrush. So all of this came back to the DNA associated with the electric toothbrush. Not to Jennifer Dulos, to the electric toothbrush that belonged to Jennifer Dulos. Okay. Yes. Now let's talk about Pavel Guerrero. He is the owner of the Toyota Tacoma that I talked about during some of the previous episodes that they've been following. They have surveillance of this Toyota going to New Canaan on the 24th, coming back from New Canaan on the 24th. Well, it wasn't Pavel driving it. Okay, this was his vehicle. I told you it was a company vehicle. I thought that's what it was. It's not. It was his personal vehicle. And what he would do is he was the project manager for Group, which is a company that Fotis Dulos owned and ran. He constructed houses. And Pavel was in charge of, like, you know, the subcontractors, getting everything done. So the Toyota Tacoma, he would drive it to Jefferson, where the office was for the Group and the home of Michelle Draconis and Fotis Dulos. He would drive that Tacoma to the office, their property, for Jefferson, on Monday mornings, and then he would take a company vehicle, which could either be the Ford Raptor, the Chevy Suburban, or a Jeep Cherokee. He liked the Jeep Cherokee. So he would keep that vehicle all week because he didn't always start his day out at Fort Jefferson. He would just go to the job site. And he had been doing this for at least a year and a half because most of their job sites were in, you know, a length of ways apart. And he didn't want to put all those miles on his own vehicle. And his vehicle, that Tacoma, was kind of old. When he got it, the seats were all beat up. He bought it used. The seats were all beat up. So he replaced those seats with Ford seats. They happened to fit in there, and he replaced them. That's going to come into play soon. Now, he talked about a conversation that he had before Jennifer goes missing, where Fotis's dog was passing away, and Fotis and Jennifer had 5 children. That's where they were squabbling over custody of these children. And Jennifer would not let the kids come say goodbye to the dogs. And Michelle expressed that bitch should be buried next to the dog. It's a horrible thing to say. Yeah. No love lost there on the part of Michelle. So going back to the Toyota Tacoma, he had asked Fotis not to use his vehicle. Don't use the vehicle. There's something wrong with the transmission. Now, he talked about knowing Jennifer Dulos. He says, yes, I knew her because she used to live there with the 5 kids with Fotis. Then when they were going through the divorce or the separation before the divorce, Jennifer, he's like, she was really nice. She's just a nice person. She had asked Pavel if he would help her move some of her belongings to her new home. And he said, yeah. So he was helping her, and then he had to stop because he's like, Fotis is going to get mad at me. I can't do this. And he didn't want to lose his job. Pavel had come over here to the U.S. from Poland in the year 2000. Since then, he's married, has 2 children, and is here legally. I don't know if he was illegal at the time, but he came over here, and at the time all this is going on, he has a green card, and he did not want to lose his main source of income. Now, he had other sources of income. One of the things he liked to do with his Toyota Tacoma is he had an attachment on it that would allow him to put a snowplow on the front, and during the winters he would make money snowplowing. So 2 weeks before Jennifer goes missing, he gets a call from Fotis saying, can you take the Toyota Tacoma and put it at the 80 Mountain Spring property? This is another property that they were just finishing up the house on and getting ready to put it on the market. He says, can we keep the Tacoma over there? You can keep the Ford Raptor. So he's like, okay. So he thought it was because the Tacoma was leaking oil. The next line of questioning was the dirt bike. He said he had gone dirt bike riding with Fotis and Michelle days before Jennifer goes missing. And after they were done, he parked his dirt bike. He left it there in the garage at Fort Jefferson because the place they were dirt bike riding was right behind the home there. And his plan was, when the week was over and he came back to get his Tacoma, he would take the dirt bike home. That would be the 24th. Now he tells Fotis, that's my plan. And Fotis says, well, don't come between 7 and 9 a.m. on the 24th because I have a meeting with my divorce lawyer. Now we know the last time that Jennifer's seen alive is on May 24th, about 8 a.m., between 7 and 9, yeah, when he's meeting with his divorce lawyer. Then he was asked about a bicycle. Does Fotis own a bicycle? Because one of the prosecution's theories, or their theory, is that Fotis drove the Toyota Tacoma to New Canaan on the 24th, that morning. He drove it over there, parked it in this park, took his bicycle, rode his bicycle to her home, killed her, puts her body into the Chevy Suburban. He takes the Chevy Suburban, parks it in the park, gets back in the Tacoma and leaves and comes back to Fort Jefferson. That's how the Tacoma is involved, and that's how the bicycle is involved. Now, meanwhile, Pavel, he's still got the black Ford Raptor, and he's in New Canaan as well with the black Ford Raptor, but he's on the job site. And his plan was, after he leaves the job site, he's going to pick up his Tacoma that afternoon and go home for the weekend. So after he leaves, he said he left the New Canaan job site about 2:30. He stopped to fill up the Raptor with gas, and then he goes to Fort Jefferson to pick up his Tacoma. Nobody's home. So his Tacoma, though, he knows is over at 80 Mountain Spring, where he was asked by Fotis to park it. So he has keys to the house and the office. So he goes in the house because he's wants to find the key to the Tacoma. They usually keep it in a drawer in the kitchen. It wasn't there. He looks in the office. It's not there. So he just gets back in the Raptor. He drives over to 80 Mountain where the Tacoma was parked, and he sees the Tacoma's there, the Chevy Suburban's there, and the Jeep is there. So he gets out, he sees Fotis and Michelle, and they seem quite surprised to see him. It's at this point that he says he notices Fotis has shaved his head. Michelle shaved Fotis's head for him. And coincidentally, Pavel had a shaved head. So Pavel makes a joke to him. He goes, "Oh, you're trying to look handsome like me." And he says after he made the joke, they didn't, their demeanor changed to be calm and pretty much normal after that. They were just surprised that he was out there. So he said, "What are you doing out here?" And he says, "Well, Michelle's cleaning up the house. She's cleaning the windows. We've got an open house coming." And Fotis said he was just cleaning up the outside of the property. And Pavel says, "I've known Michelle for 2-3 years now and never known her to go clean a property." Also, he didn't see any cleaning supplies. He didn't see any garbage bags filled with trash, nothing. So he asked Fotis, they had to do the logistics of getting the Tacoma back to the Fort Jefferson property, getting him back to the Tacoma. It was back and forth, back and forth. So, coffee. Before he leaves to go back to Fort Jefferson to park the Tacoma and have Fotis bring him back so he can get have Fotis park the Raptor and bring him back to 80 Mountain so he can get his Tacoma. He had noticed that the key to his Tacoma was in the door, and he didn't take it. He just said, "Yeah, I'm coming right back." So when he gets back with Fotis, the key's gone. So he says, "Fotis, where's the key?" And Fotis says, "Oh, Michelle's got it." Now, Michelle had left the property at 80 Mountain to go pick up a carpet. And we had heard during one of her police interviews that on her way to pick up that carpet, she got a call from the owner saying they were closing early. She'd have to come the next day. She goes back to 80 Mountain, gives him his Tacoma key. And Fotis had, when he didn't have the key, first, before he called Michelle, he had told Pavel, "Listen, just keep the Ford Raptor this weekend." He's like, "No, I want to get my dirt bike and take it back home in the Tacoma." That's when he calls Michelle to come back with the key. Now, when he gets in the Tacoma, he's asked, "Do you see any blood anywhere?" He says, "No." Was anything out of place?" "No, nothing was out of place." So he eventually gets his dirt bike. He goes back home. Then the following day, the 25th, which is a Saturday, he's getting ready for his wife's birthday party, and he gets a call from Fotis. And Fotis tells him that Jennifer is missing. And by the way, when are you coming back to work? Or in other words, when will you be in the office? And he says, "Tuesday morning. I'll be, my usual routine that I do on Monday, I'm going to do on Tuesday. I'll be there Tuesday morning to drop the Tacoma off and pick up the company vehicle." So Tuesday morning comes around. He goes to Fort Jefferson. Fotis and Michelle are in the kitchen, and they tell him Jennifer is still missing. And then Fotis asks him about a phone call that he made on Friday. And he says, I don't know if I made that phone call or not. Let me look at my history. And Fotis says, "Let me look at your history." And then Fotis tells him, "I was talking to my lawyer and we're doing timelines. You should do a timeline of everything you did on the 24th. And he says, "Why? I'll just answer their questions if they ask me a question. I don't need to do a timeline." So at this point, the defense is, every time this witness is trying to tell the jury what Fotis said to him, he's jumping up and going, "Hearsay, hearsay." And he's not wrong, but the judge says this was statements made in furtherance of a conspiracy. This is coming in. Then the prosecution points out that this guy, Pavel Guerrero, was given immunity in exchange for his testimony. He will not be prosecuted for anything. He gets immunity as long as he doesn't perjure himself. Interesting. So he says once he gets in the Tacoma, he finds in the back seat a red bucket with a dark blue sweatshirt in it. Interesting. Then he goes to Fort Jefferson. No one's home. This is another day. Oh, he goes to the Fort Jefferson on another day. Michelle's there, and he's having this conversation with Michelle. Michelle's all upset because her and her daughter's picture are in the media, and she's taking names. I'm going to sue them all. And she says, I'll kill that bitch when she shows up, thinking, she's still missing, I guess. So on another occasion, this is shortly after, like the week following the 24th, he went to Fort Jefferson. No one was home, so he called Fotis, and he's like, "Where's my vehicle?" And Fotis says, "Oh, we're having it washed, detailed." And he says, "I've been leaving my vehicle there for 1.5 years, and Fotis has never had it washed or detailed." And Fotis suggested to him, you should sell these seats, or you should replace these seats and sell this vehicle. I'll make you a really good offer on the Jeep. And he's like, "No, I don't want the Jeep." And he's like, "What do you want me to change the seats?" And he says, "Can we just not talk about it? Just do it. Just do it." He gave him some excuse about he had been to Jennifer's and he had held her cat, and so there was cat hair in the Tacoma, so he needs to get rid of the seats. And he was being very, very insistent that he do it, to the point where he said, "What are you doing tomorrow after work? Where can you get these seats?" And he says, "Well, I can go to some junkyards." So he goes to 3 different junkyards, and he does find one of the junkyards that says, "We've got seats. It'll take a couple of days. It'll be $150. But he's like, at this point, he's suspecting that's, something's going on here. Something's not right. But he doesn't want to express his suspicion to police because he doesn't want to lose his job. One of the reasons he doesn't want to lose his job is because he signed a non-compete agreement with Fotis Dulos. And if he lost his job, he'd have to uproot his family and move to another state, because he can't conduct any business in the same town as Fotis Dulos, or in the same area as Fotis Dulos. And he says, "This is my main source of income, and I got insurance through this guy. I didn't want to lose this job." But he's starting to suspect things are not what they seem. So he's insisting about this, getting these seats. So he decides after 3 different junkyards that he's just going to tell him he couldn't find any. So he gets back there, and now Fotis is like livid. He's like, "No, we got to get these seats." And so he says, "Well, how about I take the seats out of the Porsche?" And he's got that wrecked Porsche that's in the Deerfield property that his mom used to live in, and it's in the garage and it's all wrecked. He says, "Why don't I just get the Porsche seats?" So he takes the Jeep over and he gets the Porsche seats out of that vehicle to put into the Tacoma. And he does go home and he puts those seats into the Tacoma that weekend. He takes the Ford seats out. But Fotis had told him, just get rid of those seats, someplace where no one will ever find them. Well, he kept them because he was afraid he's going to have to turn them over to police, which he did eventually. Turn them over to police. And when Fotis sent him to the junkyard, he's like, "Pay in cash and I'll reimburse you. Everything in cash." And he told him, "If we ever talk on the phone about these seats, don't use the word seats. Use the word," what was the word? Oh, hardware. And in fact, he got a phone call from him later on where he says, "Are you going to get the hardware?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to get the hardware." Yeah. So that is the end of the testimony that I saw, he was still on the stand when they took their late afternoon break. And I know that he's going to have the cross-examination today, and I will cover that for you. I'm also going to be doing the opening statements tomorrow, covering those for you. They're going on right now, but I will recap those for you tomorrow in the New Hampshire case versus Adam Montgomery for the murder of his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony Montgomery. So I'll bring that to you tomorrow. Don't forget, I am live tonight. Craft with me Wednesday. I hope to see you then. If not, I'll see you tomorrow in Crafting and Crime Daily. Take care, everybody. Bye.